Friends, welcome to video 33 in our series Principles of Equity Investing. Well, you would remember that in one of my earlier videos, in fact, one of the earliest, we had talked about the principle of diversification. So, the idea of diversification is that we spread our risk. In this video, I'm going to kind of touch upon that again and also talk about some easy ways of diversification. Now, what happens is, in the name of diversification, quite often we spread our risk so widely that that itself starts becoming a risk. And therefore, we need to adopt easy ways of diversification so that we don't get into too many small investments. We are rather able to handle a few large investments comfortably, yet we are able to achieve diversification. And then in one of the later videos, I'm going to talk about how by achieving diversification on one hand, and on the other hand, having concentrated investments in few places, we can actually do even a better performance in terms of investing. And I'm going to talk about how even during this COVID scenario, I tried to move money from one asset to another, taking advantage of some of the anomalies that get developed in the market. It is always said that market has this uncanny ability to kind of visualize what's going to happen and factor that in the prices. That's how we saw a massive collapse after the COVID pandemic panned out. So market already knew that this is going to have an impact, and therefore there was a huge fear and the market collapsed. But even during this time, those difficult 3 months, there were huge opportunities which arose on account of mispricing of assets. And that actually gives us a good opportunity, because remember, we had already talked about value versus price paradigm. So if a price goes away far too from value, it actually surfaces an opportunity. And in a later video, in fact, I'm going to talk about that as uh, a video with examples where I'll not talk about much of principles, but rather show you how I could take advantage of those anomalies. Now, of course, this is one of the things that I have always been doing. I have never talked about a particular script, because I know that's something that you should take a call on, but I am actually unfolding the principles that I follow. Uh, as I have also given my disclaimer in one of the earlier videos, I'm not kind of been registered as a research analyst or approved by SEBI as a research analyst, and therefore I refrain from talking about any specific stocks. However, principles themselves are important, and those principles can actually give us clues in terms of how we can better our return even during situations like what we have recently seen in the form of COVID pandemic. So I will create that video with examples. Of course, I will use some dummy names there, just company A, company B, but I will drive home the point of how you can take advantage, and I'll actually show you some data whereby you'll actually get a good feel in terms of how indeed those mispricing provides an opportunity. Fine, so we will talk about that in a later video. For now, let us look at some easy ways of diversification. So very quickly, diversification is an important principle in investing. Not all eggs should be in one basket. We all know about that. Typically, it is said that for achieving good diversification, there should be 18 to 20 stocks spread across sectors, so that there should not be a concentration. So all 18-20 can't be banking stocks. There may be one or two in banking, one or two in construction, one or two in metals, IT, and so on and so forth, automobiles. So you need to have this diversification across 18-20 stocks. But the challenge is for a busy professional who has loads of responsibilities in the professional life, in the family, you may remember I had mentioned about this principle that we should not have this ego that I can actually analyze a company. I can do a preliminary analysis. And I'm saying that with all humility when I am actually qualified as a CA, CMA, company secretary, CFA from India, level 2 of US CFA, and in the Indian programs with national ranks in all of them, typically in top 3 except CA when I was 11th. But with all humility, I want to say this, that I am not equipped to analyze a company today because, not because I don't have the skills, but the problem is finally analysis is good enough to the extent we have information. And imagine me devoting time for 18 to 20 stocks and analyzing them continuously, monitoring the information flow. We will be just driven crazy. And therefore, in one of my earlier videos, you would see that we should not have this ego that I can analyze companies. Well, analyzing, talking about companies is nice to kind of show to our friends that we also know stuff, or we are also stock investors. That's a good way of managing our own, kind of image among others. But the reality is really this, that we don't have time, and therefore, imagine how can we analyze those 18-20 stocks, remove them from our tracking list, add a couple of other stocks. Otherwise, you have to rely on somebody who is going to advise you. That's fine. Subscribe to some of those advisories, and of course, you can then pick stocks. But even there, you can't, really find time to monitor them. Otherwise, you are completely relying on someone's advice. That's fine if you want to do that. But here, I just wanted to share very simple ways in which we can achieve diversification, but yet we don't have to worry so much about tracking numerous companies. So what are the key ways? So one of the ways, of course, is mutual funds. We all know that. But even there, the problem is, just like when we rely on somebody else's advisory, even in case of mutual funds, what happens is we have to depend on the wisdom and capability of the fund manager. Even some of the star fund managers actually may underperform in a couple of years. That can always happen. So are we willing to take that risk and then get into investing in mutual funds? So people are actually scared about this risk, and therefore I know some people who actually invest in 20 different schemes of mutual funds, even if all of them are oriented towards equity. 25 schemes, then they find it very unmanageable. They don't have methods to keep track of how much return each one of them is generating till you actually get some report from the mutual fund itself. Of course, I must tell you that if you just look at my video channel, you will find there are various playlists, and one of the playlists is also about important or useful financial concepts. In that, I have actually created a video whereby you can keep track of your returns, and there is a downloadable Excel file that you can download and use it. So the video also takes you through how to use that Excel file also, and that Excel file you can use for recording your own investment, so you know what kind of return is getting generated. But the fact remains that you are depending on the wisdom and capability of the fund manager. So what is then the solution? Before we go to the solution per se, we must also note this fact that globally a significant percentage, approximately 70% of managed funds actually lag behind the indices. In other words, there are only 30% or even less of the fund managers and funds which actually beat an index. An index, what I mean is like a Nifty, like a Sensex. And therefore, we find that some funds perform very well, some don't. And in fact, those who perform very well are in a minority. Now, in a situation like this, how do we achieve our diversification objective? Let's explore that. So, index funds are an easy way of reducing the fund manager risk. So, we don't have to worry about what if the fund manager's decisions go wrong, or for that matter even the fund house risk, because sometimes we may be concerned that this particular fund house is not large enough, and then what happens? So we don't have to worry about that, because the good thing about index funds is that they are supposed to mimic the performance of an index like Nifty, Sensex. And when I say that they are supposed to mimic, what it means is the fund manager is not required to apply his or her mind. The fund manager is going to simply mimic the index the way it is constructed. Whatever is the proportion in which different scripts have a weightage, the same weightage would be provided. Of course, there will be a certain tracking error, as they say, because there is a certain transaction cost involved in buying, selling. Sometimes a stock is removed from that index, a new one is added. So while selling this particular stock, which has been removed from the index, there may be some, transaction cost, and you add another one. So the performance of the scheme may not exactly be the performance of the index like Nifty or Sensex, but it will be quite close. Also, I don't want to go into those details, but index funds are available in the form of close-ended schemes or open-ended schemes. So close-ended schemes are like a public issue where a defined number of units are issued, and then only people can trade among themselves. No new units are issued. But open-ended funds can have, new units being created, old units being redeemed, all that can happen. So you can actually invest directly through a mutual fund, or you can buy what is called as exchange traded funds, which are also linked to Nifty or Sensex, like Nifty Bs, which are traded on the stock market. So through your broker, you can directly buy in the market itself. So for now, I'll not go into those details, but all that I wanted to convey was that index funds are a very good option to be able to do that. Now, sometimes questions arise in people's mind that, there are two index funds, one offered by one fund house, another offered by another fund house. One has an NAV of say 100 rupees, another has the NAV of 200 rupees. So the question is, which one should we buy? So is it that we should go and buy the one with 100 rupees because it is cheaper? Actually, the 100 and 200 may have happened simply because that particular fund house, which created the scheme earlier on, would have now naturally the NAV which would have been grown. That fund house which created the scheme later, obviously the NAV would not be very high, because it may have tracked the performance of the index only over the last 10 years. Whereas the one where the NAV has become 200 now, it may be in existence for say 25 years. So that is possible. Now, it really doesn't matter about what is the NAV that you pay. What really matters is the return, and therefore, whether you invest in fund house A or fund house B, it really doesn't matter, because assuming that they have the same tracking error, both are likely to give you the same return. So it is not really the NAV that you pay that matters, but it is the return that matters. Now here, as we've already discussed, since the fund manager has no role to play in terms of application of mind, essentially both these schemes should give very close returns from each other, and therefore it really doesn't matter where you go and invest. Now I will come to another interesting way of investing, which I have been personally been using quite aggressively. Well, let me briefly tell you why I turned to holding companies. I must say that over last many years, significant progress has been done by the regulators, by the legislature, in terms of improving the corporate governance standards. But generally we find that, we cannot take the corporate governance standards of companies for granted, because whatever may be the big name they may be talking about in the annual report, that they want to raise the bar of corporate governance, but when it comes to the selfish interests of the people who are sitting on the board as well as the employees, there may be easy compromises with wider shareholding community. I don't want to get into examples here, but I have seen personally, how about 10 years ago, stock options were issued by a company when the stock market had collapsed, during the 2008-2009 Lehman Brothers crisis. And the stock price had become less than 35% of its peak, or about 40% of its peak, and they merely issued stock options. Uh, or we find companies where people just don't want to retire, they just want to stay on. They will keep on creating, positions for themselves as if, there's nobody else who is ready to take their mantle. So we still find challenges with corporate governance. Even the way independent directors are appointed, the who finally identifies those independent directors? Well, people who have significant shareholding have a substantial say. And then the way the compensations are paid to even independent directors, sometimes questions arise whether they can really be independent. This is, I'm saying, with all due respect. And therefore, when I realized that there is a lot of lip service given to corporate governance, I found a way of investing through holding companies. Again, based on the ethical side of it, I don't want to name any holding company, but I'm sure you will be able to easily identify the holding companies. Now, what is the holding company concept? Essentially, the company doesn't have any other commercial business of its own other than holding investments of some of the group companies. Now, the beauty of holding companies is that typically the price at which holding companies trade are at a significant discount to NAV. They always call this as a holding company discount. And typically, when analysts do valuation of companies which have their own core business and in addition also have stakes in other group companies, they usually say that they have used a 30% holding company discount. What does that mean? If the collective value of the underlying investments or investment portfolio held by the holding companies, let us say, is 100 rupees, the stock price would be trading only at 70. This is the assumption because typically the discount would be about 30%. Now, that was also because of multiple layers of taxation. Now, with streamlining of taxation, in fact, that multiple layer of taxation has reduced significantly and in some cases may have been eliminated. Uh, Even in such situation, we find that these holding companies' prices are at a deep discount as compared to the NAV. For example, when I am creating this video, I hold one holding company whose price is at about 30% of its NAV. In other words, discount is 70%. Now, in a situation like this, holding companies become very attractive investments. And we also have a certain cushioning effect. Now, I don't want to preempt my discussion because I'm going to have a separate discussion on holding companies. But for now, holding companies is a very good way of investing. So, if say a holding company has its own portfolio of stocks, instead of holding many companies, you can simply have shares of that holding company. Automatically you get exposure to a variety of sectors. So it may so happen that a particular holding company not only holds shares of their own group, but they also have shares or a portfolio of many other companies as a part of their portfolio, and that makes it very attractive. Now, instead of me paying, the same price as the NAV for a mutual fund unit, why not I invest in holding companies? That's the thought which came to my mind 10 years ago, particularly after I saw the way the corporate governance really operates in companies. I don't want to paint all companies with the same brush, but you find that the selfish endeavor of human beings quite often, kind of wash out the bigger purpose that the companies are supposed to serve, and therefore a lot of employee centric or director centric decisions may be taken from a remuneration perspective, compensation perspective, stock option perspective, which they would never issue capital at those prices to lay shareholders like us. So when that company which kind of issued stock options, when the prices had collapsed to about 40% or 35%, they would have never come out with a rights issue that time. They would not have ever offered shares at a cheap price, to the shareholders. But stock options to employees, yes. Stock options to directors, yes. And at that time, this restriction of not issuing stock options to independent directors was not there. So an independent director who comes from an industrial family, who was sitting on the board of this company, got stock options for himself also. So such blatant compromises today are difficult because the laws have changed, etc. But that's where I started thinking about holding companies, and therefore most of my investments over the last 10 years I have done through holding companies. But more about holding companies a little later and how that can be greatly advantageous. So I'll talk about that in a separate video. So I've already spoken about holding company discount also, but in a separate video I'll deal with that even in a greater detail. And in fact, I want to create a video how during this pandemic also, using this holding company discount, I could actually generate wealth without investing a rupee. So I will actually talk about it through an example, kind of an appendix to this video itself. So as I said, the holding company discount provides some very interesting opportunities, and I'm going to create a separate video on holding companies. But I would request you that now, since you are aware about this as a great tool of investing, why don't you explore a little bit about holding companies? Why don't you do some research? Do Google search, and you will find that there are many holding companies. Go and understand what their holdings are. Prepare an Excel file which will actually have its major holdings, and therefore, go to their quarterly disclosures. Many of them even disclose their NAVs. You may not even have to do a calculation, though I personally do. I have an Excel file for each holding company, and which I can value anytime. So if all that is difficult for you, it doesn't matter. Go to the quarterly disclosures, and you will find the NAVs being kind of revealed by these companies. So that will also give you an idea about the holding company discount. So I hope, friends, you got a good idea about how diversification can be achieved, in very simple ways. Now, if you have liked this video, please press the subscribe button. Do offer your comments, share it with others, and do suggest more topics in this series and other series also. I'll be very happy to consider creating videos around those themes too. Thank you so much.